Good day, everyone. Today, let's try to explore and analyze the things around child and family counseling, highlighting its key concepts, relevant examples, and testimonies to understand how therapy helps families grow stronger. I am your discussant, Irene May A. Garcia. Let us know what child and family counseling is all about. It is a type of therapy that helps children and their families. Second, it focuses on solving emotional, behavioral, or relationship problems. Third, it aims to build healthier family communication and support. Let us answer the question, why families seek counseling? Counseling helps families navigate challenges, fostering stronger bonds and healthier communication, which leads to emotional growth and well being for both children and parents. Let's watch this video.
Hey Psych2Goers, have you ever wondered if your family is toxic? In past videos, we've outlined a few traits of toxic parents, but toxicity can also describe family systems. A family is a group of parents and children living together as a unit. In this structure, the parents control the power dynamic and they're responsible for the safety and well-being of the children. But what if you have a dysfunctional and toxic family environment? In today's video, we'll talk about a couple of examples of toxic family dynamics. Number 1, the picture-perfect family. This family dynamic is all about appearances and paints an unrealistic picture of perfection by sweeping arguments and resentments under the rug. While everyone appears to be doing well, everything is falling apart. There's no authenticity within this family dynamic, and actions are performative. Family members are likely to curate their life to appear perfect or acceptable in other people's eyes. This dynamic is toxic as it places undue emotional strain on those who are in it. Parents may even exercise a degree of psychological abuse towards their children, who can grow up believing that love is conditional. An example of toxicity in this family dynamic is when parents hide a serious issue, such as a divorce, affair, or financial struggle, and pressure their children to maintain the lie so they'll not look bad. Number 2, the disconnected family. The disconnected family has no parent-child connection. Parents are either emotionally or physically absent from their children's lives. The parent behaves more like a roommate, providing the bare necessities for their child and failing to provide emotional guidance and support. They do not nurture the child, so the child grows up nurturing themselves. As a result, the child grows up emotionally distant from others, and they have difficulty being vulnerable and struggle to show up emotionally for others. An example of a disconnected family dynamic is a parent who solely focuses on work and neglects to forge a relationship with their child. Number 3, the chaotic family. This type of family system lacks stability, which may arise from sudden divorce or financial struggle, thus burdening the parent with responsibilities and distancing them from their child. Consequently, children who grew up with these dynamics are incredibly independent, yet feel unsettled. They're accustomed to always being ready to run, so settling down is difficult. As a result of living in a state of chaos, they tend to process their emotions differently or not at all, and can default to dissociation to cope. An example of a chaotic family dynamic is an abusive household where the parent is overwhelmed and unable to fulfill their role properly. Number 4, the child-parent dynamic. This dynamic is also a product of an unstable family where the child assumes the role of the parent. This act of parentification may arise naturally, where the child may notice the lack of stability from their parent and assume that role to protect a younger sibling, or may be enforced. An example of this dynamic is if the parent struggles with addiction. The circumstances in that family force the child to assume the role of the parent, or the parent may not be emotionally mature enough to handle certain situations, so they leave it up to the child. A child growing up in this type of family becomes incredibly responsible, but also reluctant to lean on others and open up emotionally. In relationships, they often have a hard time expressing their emotional needs and usually assume blame for everything. Unfortunately, the media glorifies parentified children as mature, but this idea of parentified children is harmful because it undermines the reality. A child has been robbed of their innocence and childhood. Number 5, the messy split family. This type of family dynamic is an extension of the previous one and is common within divorced families. If the divorce is not amicable, it can quickly become messy. A messy divorce can create toxicity for the child, planting resentments or undermining the other parent, which creates strain for the child and deprives them of a sense of stability. Children who grow up in this way have difficulties creating lasting relationships, developing trust issues, and believe that happy and healthy relationships do not exist. And number 6, the codependent. This dynamic involves an aggressor or abusive parent and an enabling parent who stays in the relationship out of fear. The child witnesses the power struggles within the relationship and may assume that they're normal. They may also grow up resenting their parent for not protecting them. As a result, they may struggle with trust issues and fear being taken advantage of. Have any of these points helped you? Let us know in the comments below. As always, the references and studies used in this video are added in the description below. Remember to like and share this video with someone who might benefit. Until next time, friends, and thanks for watching. Take care.
From the video that we watched, here are the common reasons why families are seeking counseling. First, behavior issues at home or school. Second, anxiety, depression, or sadness in a child. Third, family conflicts or poor communication. Lastly, life changes. It's either divorce, loss, moving, or trauma. Here is another video that we must watch.
Man, when I look at that kid, it's hard to believe that that was actually me. I definitely struggled through that time. I was so angry, felt so alone. It was so hard to make friends. But to tell you the truth, I probably wasn't much fun to be around. I definitely found schoolwork so much harder than most people. Every year I struggled and it just felt like it was harder and harder to keep up. There were people, they tried to reach out to me, but I wasn't very nice to them. I just lost control. I just felt so isolated. Yeah, things started to change when I hit year 5. You know, my teacher, she just made such a difference. I knew she liked me even though she pulled me up when I did something wrong. She was always happy towards me and smiling and showed an interest in me. She definitely noticed that I needed something extra than the other kids. So, my teacher ended up calling my parents. She got us booked in with the counselor, who really listened and got my parents and teacher to understand what was going on with me. Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if my teacher hadn't stepped in when she did. The counselor was cool. She gave my parents advice on how to help me and spend more time with me and things like that. She was also just a massive help for me too. I was calmer, and hey, I even made some friends. She gave me some ideas on how to manage my feelings and just make better choices. And it worked. It was such a battle up to that point, and things they could have turned out very differently if it wasn't for my teacher. What changed things was someone noticing and taking that extra step to find the right help for me.
Counselors in a school or in any institution must possess these following roles. First, counselor helps the child express feelings safely. Second, he or she guides parents to support their child. Third, counselor encourages the whole family to work together. Last, counselor builds trust and understanding. At this point, let's hear some feedbacks from families who have experienced counseling.
Our child's progress has been amazing and inspiring.
We've learned how to handle disagreements more calmly because of the counseling. We are finally listening to each other and understanding each other we didn't do before.
I can see things from my family member's point of view more clearly now.
There are also approaches or techniques that can be used in giving counseling. First, play therapy for young children to express feelings through play. Second, family sessions. Everyone shares and listens. Third, talk therapy. It helps kids and teens open up. Lastly, skill building, communication, problem solving, and calming down. How do parents can involve in counseling? First, parents may attend some therapy sessions. Second, parents must learn strategies to support their child. Third, parents may practice better communication at home. Last, parents must work together as a team with the counselor. Let's take a moment to watch this video.
On my last visit to see my son, Mark, in the hospital, I noticed his attitude had improved. I was relieved to see him smile. Supporting him in his recovery journey isn't always easy. Our last several family visits with Mark were intense. My husband and I are fighting more, and I tend to lose my patience quickly with my other child. We'd sometimes just sit in silence. We didn't know how to react or what we could say to make his situation better. Mark's therapist suggested that we could benefit from family therapy. We initially brushed the idea aside. At the time, my husband and I thought our family didn't need any help. I assumed it was Mark who had all the issues. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that trying to cope with the challenges of Mark's mental health condition had taken a toll on the whole family. I made a call to Mark's therapist. He recommended a licensed therapist who specializes in family therapy.
Family therapy is a type of psychotherapy or talk therapy in which members of a family attend sessions together. The family group may be as small as 2 people and may be composed of people who live together or apart. The goal is usually to improve communication and connections between family members, resolve conflict, and potentially learn about a loved one's diagnosis.
I was nervous about family therapy. I wasn't sure how my family would handle these sessions. I braced myself for the first meeting with the therapist.
At our first appointment, the therapist explained the ground rules she expected us to follow. She provided us a form which listed the rules and asked all of us to honor each one.
The therapist let each of us talk about how we communicate and how we respond when we feel angry with one another. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad we were honest with each other. After a few sessions, we planned to start working on our new communication skills. The therapist even assigned us homework. She asked us to spend an evening doing an activity together. It was a little awkward at first, but still fun.
We stuck to it, kept going to therapy and doing our homework. And it has been paying off. Things are better now, and we're less tense around each other. Managing Mark's condition is also a bit easier since we're talking more and using the new skills we've learned. My husband noticed the difference, and he started coming to therapy with us. Together, we're working to make each day better as a family.
And of course, there are benefits of having counseling both for the child and the whole family. First, it improves family relationships. Second, it shows better behavior and emotions in children. Third, it gives stronger communication and problem solving. Fourth, it becomes happier and healthier home life. These are some people who share their experiences by answering 5 common questions encountered during counseling. What are the common issues addressed in child and family counseling?
So, yung mga common issues na na-encounter namin in child and family counseling ay yung tinatawag nating behavioral and emotional struggles. So dito no, yung mga bata no, maaari sila maka-experience anxiety, depression, pati yung tinatawag natin na behavioral outbursts na maaaring maka-impact sa ability nila to focus and interact positively with peers and pati na rin doon sa kanilang mga teachers. So next naman dito ay yung tinatawag nating family dynamics and home environment. So dito naman yung mga issues kagaya ng divorce, parental conflict, or financial stress, no, maaring maka-apekto rin kasi ito sa emotional stability ng isang bata, pati na rin sa academic engagement nila.
So as a newly hired guidance counselor, some of the most common issues na na-encounter ko ay yung mga academic stress, behavioral concerns, family conflicts, grief, anxiety, and peer relationship problems. So maraming mga estudyante nag-struggle with adjusting to school routines, especially yung mga major life transitions nila such as divorce or moving to a new place.
Ang mga karaniwang isyong tinutugunan sa isang counseling ay patungkol sa problema ng isang bata sa kanyang pag-aaral, problema sa bahay o sa kanilang pamilya, at ang pagkakaroon ng bullying sa school.
What approaches do you use in counseling children and families?
So some of the commonly used methods or approaches na ginagamit namin in counseling children and families ay yung tinatawag natin na school-based family counseling or SBFC. So itong integrated approach na to, no, kinokonek yung school and family system, no, para suportahan yung children's academic personal children's academic and personal success, no. So pinagpo-focusan nito yung collaboration between dun sa teacher, no, sa parent and sa mental health professional para magkaroon ng supportive environment yung bata and yung family. Next, cognitive behavioral therapy or the CBT. So dito, no, it used to help children manage anxiety. So yung pinaka-focus nito ay para tulungan yung mga bata na mag-manage ng kanilang anxiety, stress, and behavioral issues, no. So by teaching coping strategies and problem solving skills. So dito tinuturuan natin yung mga bata para kung paano i-handle yung kanilang mga nararamdaman.
So I use a combination of child-centered and solution-focused approaches. So para sa mga younger children, I often incorporate a play therapy techniques para matulungan silang ma-express yung mga sarili nila in a way that's natural and comfortable for them. So I also use or apply cognitive behavioral therapy para matulungan yung mga children and parents develop more helpful thought patterns and coping skills.
Ang mga approaches na ginagamit during counseling or during session, gumagamit kami ng play therapy, nakikipagkwentuhan kami sa mga bata, at nagkakaroon din kami ng family counseling.
How do you handle resistance from children or parents during therapy?
Use positive reinforcement. So dito, encourage natin yung mga small successes and i-highlight natin yung strengths, no, ng bata para ma-motivate lalo yung bata na mag-engage openly sa atin or makipag-participate. So sa parents naman, no, kapag naka-encounter tayo ng resistance with the parents, ang una nating ginagawa ay yung tinatawag natin establish a therapeutic bond. So dito, no, yung mga parents kasi maaaring mag-resist in counseling kapag nararamdaman nila, no, na sinisisi sila or they are being judged. So building a collaborative relationship, no, and validating their concerns can help them feel supported. So next ay yung tinatawag natin educate about the process, no. Yung ibang parents kasi hindi sila nagpa-participate sa mga ganitong bagay kapag hindi nila masyadong naiintindihan yung benefits ng counseling, no. So providing them clear explanations, no, makakatulong yun, and addressing misconceptions can reduce skepticism. Okay, so yun nga, pag-educate sa parents, mas naiintindihan nila, mas nag-i-engage sila.
So, yung resistance it is a normal part of the process, especially early on. So, with children, I try to build rapport through games, drawing, or simply listening without judgment. So, once they feel safe, they're usually more open to sharing. So, with parents naman, I approach resistance with empathy. So, acknowledging their concerns and helping them understand that counseling is a collaborative effort.
Sa isang counseling, ipinapaliwanag namin ang kahalagahan ng pag-uusap na yon or ng session na yon, at ako ay nakikinig at inuunawa ang bawat panig.
What is your role as a counselor in family therapy sessions?
Natawag na setting goals and encouraging growth, no? So we as counselors, no, we help client establish realistic goals and work toward personal development. Okay, so nagsaset tayo ng realistic goals and work toward personal development. No, yung mga sineset natin na goals, yung pinapagawa natin sa kanila ay para sa kanilang personal development. So next one is yung tinatawag natin na managing conflict and group dynamics. So ito naman ay sa group settings, no? We as counselors, no, nagpa-facilitate kami sa discussion, pinapanatili namin yung healthy communication, and yung mga conflicts na pumapasok or ina-address ay ina-address constructively.
So my role is to be a supportive guide and facilitator. So I help children identify and express their emotions, ma-develop yung problem-solving skills nila, and build resilience. So I also work with families para ma-improve ang kanilang communication, ma-strengthen yung relationship, and address any patterns that may be contributing to the child's difficulties. So during the session, I observe, nakikinig ako sa kanila, I ask guiding questions, and sometimes educate.
Sa isang family counseling session, ako po ay tagagabay, tagapamagitan, at tagapakinig para po magkaroon ng pagkakaunawaan at pagkakaintindihan ang bawat isa sa pamilya.
Can you share a challenging case during your counseling experience and how you handled it?
The challenging case that I have encountered, no, ay yung teenager naka-experience ng anxiety and depression na hindi siya nag-open up, no, and dinidismiss niya yung counselor's effort, no, dinidismiss niya yung effort namin, and yung effort niya, no, para makapag-participate ay minimal lang. So paano namin hinandle yun? Paano ko hinandle yun? So una, no, I build trust and rapport. No? So crucial kasi yun, no? Kailangan magkaroon ng safe and non-judgmental space, no, during the session. So kailangan active tayo sa pakikinig, no? Binavalidate natin yung feelings ng bata, no? So sa mga ganung paraan, mararamdaman nila na sila ay pinapakinggan at iniintindi. Next is yung paggamit ng mga indirect approaches, no? So imbis na direkta natin silang kine-question or tinatanong, no, we are engaging the client through activities like journaling, no, pagsusulat, art therapy, or storytelling, no. So yung mga ganung paraan kasi nakakapag-encourage yun to express themselves, no? And yung during the session, yung mga minor progress ina-acknowledge natin, no? Ina-acknowledge natin yung minor progress, yun, such as yung pinakapag-attend lang nila mismo dun sa session, no, or yung pag-share nila ng small details, no. So yung mga ganung bagay, maaaring makapag-boost yun ng motivation doon sa bata, no, para makipag-open, mag-open up pa or makipag-participate pa.
So, one challenging case involved a student who was acting out in class and frequently suspended. So, he came from a home with ongoing conflict and his parents are not engaged in counseling. So, nung una, he was very withdrawn and non-verbal during the sessions. Kaya, I focus on building trust by letting him set the face. So, para mag-connect kaming dalawa. So, eventually, he began opening up his feelings. So, I also work closely with his teachers and offer the parents flexible time para makapag-connect. So, over time, the student's behavior improved significantly. So, yung family became more involved.
May isang bata na ayaw magbahagi ng kanyang naranasan. Kaya ang ginawa ko, binigyan ko siya ng activity, katulad ng drawing activity, hanggang sa paunti-unti, nagkakausap na kami ng bata, hanggang sa naging magaan na yung loob niya, at naikwento niya din kung ano yung nangyari sa kanya.
And before I end this presentation, I would like to give some thoughts that I encountered while I was doing this that you may use in your future careers. Asking help is a sign of strength. Understanding begins when judgment ends. Families don't need to be perfect. They need to be connected. Healing happens when stories are shared, not silenced. A safe space to be heard can be the first step toward healing. Counseling is not about giving answers, but helping people discover their own. Thank you for watching. God bless. Bye.